Time is almost 19 minutes past 7. More Londoners are living in skyscrapers than ever before. A market research company has found that half of new tower blocks being built in the capital contain homes rather than offices. Independent property experts say developers are building upwards because of higher land costs. Well, Andrew Teacher, Director of Blackstock, an independent property expert, joins us now. Good morning to you. So
Morning.
It's all to do with higher land costs.
Well, I think it's a mixture of several things. You've got higher land costs, which have obviously pushed up prices of homes and pushed up prices for developers. But you've also got the need to live more central. People are much more focused on lifestyle these days, and I think one of the upshots of that is that people want to be within much closer proximity of their places of work, of their places of leisure, and you simply can't do that if you're living out in the suburbs. And that's one of the causes, I think, of people accepting, I guess, some of the restrictions of living in urban environments, living in flats in towers. But also, there's still quite a sexiness about it. It's the same thrill that aviation has for people. It's that fact of being unrestricted, being able to look out over the skyline. And I think that there's a lot of that still to be said.
There are also a few cons. I was vaguely debating about moving the other day, and I kind of half-heartedly looked at a few places, and there are quite a lot of places on the top of these buildings. And I just decided, no, too scary.
Well, I think everyone has their own decision to take on things like that, and one thing that's scary for some person is thrilling for another, and I think it comes down to a lot of your own personal circumstances as well. But I think one of the facts are that in this country we still have all this. We have a massive refusal to accept the need to build on the green belt. British people think that the green belt is this fairy tale land of wildlife and roses, when actually it's not. But the acceptance that we're not going to build on that means we have to look at something else. We need homes, we need more homes, so they're going to have to be built somewhere. And the problem comes where nobody wants anything built near them. So I think with that comes the need to build up, because ultimately the city only has so much space in it.
Although we do have, as we found out at the Olympics period, we do have still an awful lot of land on brownfield sites within London itself.
We do, and a couple of the towers that have come up around there. I mean, there's the Stratford Halo Tower in Stratford, which is going to overlook the park once the park is finished. And there are obviously a number of clusters coming up around the South Bank and around East London and Vauxhall as well. And all these areas, and you very correctly say, all these areas that once upon a time people would never have gone anywhere near.
You mentioned our reservations about it. Do you think this is in part a sort of snobbery? Because I'm of an age to remember back in the 60s when the tower blocks were first going up. And while there were one or two luxury blocks and developments like the Barbican as it was then, by and large they were sort of regarded as vertical council estates.
Well, that's very true. I mean, you've got a lot of the overhang from that. Towers like the Archway Tower and all these really horrible, ugly things that are now being redone. I mean, Archway is a good example. That's going to be redeveloped by a company called Essential Living. They're going to turn that into premium market rented flats. You've got a lot of stuff in Vauxhall, and Vauxhall, it's a pretty undesirable area for many years, and now you've got luxury towers there that St George are building, and similarly I think looking east you've got a lot of opportunity to redevelop areas around there. So I think that there is a snobbery there that we need to get over, and I think when you look at other cities, you look at other global cities, whether that's New York or on the Far East, Hong Kong, there is a need to support a workforce, and this is one of the other points. It's not simply about liking the fact you're living in a tall building.
It's actually having places that people can afford to live near their places. Well, Andrew, I must leave it there, I'm afraid, but thank you very much for joining us. Andrew Teacher there, Director of Blackstock, an independent property